now everyone is connected. I just wanted, first of all, before diving in, thank you and good afternoon or good morning from depending on where you're from and where you're joining us from. We're really happy to welcome you today to this e-reputation webinar. My name is Kenza Kassabi, and I'm here with Anthony Garron, and we are international sales managers at Partoo. And yeah, that's why we have a lot of people from around the world. We try to expand Partoo worldwide. And yeah, hello, Anthony. So yeah, we want to start off by thanking you and thanking each one of you for taking the time to be with us today. We're really glad that you joined, and we will try to do our best to make this 30 minutes webinar a valuable learning experience, and we'll share as many valuable information and actionable information as well as much as possible. So let's dive right to it. So what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes? Get ready. We will cover 4 main elements in order to build a strong e-reputation for your brand. So we're going to first walk you through the main figures that will show the importance of online presence management. And those figures will be based on our 2020 barometer. The second step would be to walk you through and to talk about analyzing the reviews that you receive, and to explain to you why it is important to analyze them and to find out the reasons why the customers are happy or unhappy. The third step would be explain to you why you should respond to online reviews and how to do so in a more strategic way, because sometimes it takes time. So we'll walk you through how to do it more efficiently. And last but not least, we'll show you again how to get more reviews, how to collect more reviews for your brand. So please do not hesitate to ask your questions in the chat box here. We have saved some time at the end of this webinar to answer them. And we will also be adding polls throughout the webinar, so in order to make it more engaging. And you will be able to find all the polls and other options on the top right side of your screen. So yeah, let's go and dive ahead.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Kenza. Well, just to put everyone on the same page, we are only going to talk today here about Google reviews. Even if Facebook and TripAdvisor are still important, Google are the main ones. So why are they so important? Today, the younger generation is more and more digital focused and will rely on social proof to make their choices. This has become a main factor that will determine the position of your listing on Google. And precisely, we are talking about the average score, the number of reviews, the frequency of reviews. These are all elements that will bring you up in the search results. So the first thing I wanted to present to you is the massive increase in the number of reviews. This is a huge trend. We conducted a study on 24,000 establishments that shows us that the number increased by 32% between 2020 and 2019 to reach more than 5 million reviews. These are reasons to it that could explain this trend. Firstly, the explosion of local SEO and Google My Business. Today, it is around 50% of searches that are local. For instance, bakery near me, restaurant near me, etc., etc. Second, it would be that the reviews are now part of the everyday life of everyone. 9 out of 10 internet users will look at them before visiting any establishment, and currently everyone is posting reviews online. It is no longer reserved for a small group of people, and as it used to be in the past. So, lastly, sometimes Google will send you an email to leave a review after you visit a restaurant, for instance. So you will go and visit a restaurant, then when you have the end of your experience, you go out and then you receive an email from Google asking you to leave the review.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us to the second element that shows us the importance of the reviews. And when we're talking about the reviews, we need to know that they have an impact on in terms of referencing. So this is a screenshot from the Moz report. Moz is actually one of the international references in terms of SEO, and they publish a report, a study every 2 years. And this year they published one specifically post-COVID related and how the industry changed post-COVID. And they shared the main factors of local reference open the appearance of a Google My Business listing. What is So do you guys see hear me? Yeah. So what is making a listing appear rather than another? So this year, what they did for the first time ever since the creation of Google My Business, they showed that the second most important factor of local SEO is the Google My Business reviews. And the first one being the optimization of the Google listing. So this comes even before your website, your official website. And when we talk about the reviews, there are several areas of concern. We talk about do you receive enough reviews? What kind of reviews do you receive? Are they diversified? Are the reviews answered? What's the overall rating? And all of these aspects. So if your brand wants to appear on the top search results, one of the main things you need to know, it's once again, take the time to manage the reviews, reply back to every single one of them, be it positive or negative, and then reply as soon as possible. Now let's see the impact and the results of what I just said, like in terms of our clients and more in general. What is different today is, and why we focus on it, the days when people used to say only unhappy customers leave bad reviews, we only have unhappy customers, are over. Now what we do is we work to help customers increase their average rating and the positive feedback from the clients. For example, here we just wanted to mention the average score of the listings of our clients. All of them, the average increased to 3.9 out of 5 stars compared to 3.3 just a couple of years back, which represents a huge increase in terms of rating in Google My Business. Another example that we wanted to share with you today is one of our best clients of our panel. They're called Wines and Beers, and they have now 4.5 stars out of 5 as a rating, and more than 50,000 reviews managed by Partoo. So just a takeaway note that you need to remember from this: knowing your score is good, is really great, but responding to reviews is even better because it's like a virtuous circle.
Yeah, exactly, Kenza. And you know that brands have understood the strategic importance of the reviews, and they are gradually beginning to respond to them. It was in 2020, 34% of the response versus around 20% of response in 2019. So today, the vast majority of responses are still given to negative reviews because they are the one that hurt you the most. When it took 43 days in 2019 to get a response, it was 6 months in 2016. It took only 15 days now in 2020, a much more reasonable period. So our recommendation would be 48 hour. We have a very good client too, which is called So Cook. They do kitchen furniture shops, and they process their review 98% in 2 days. So it's very nice. This is what you want to reach. Now you may not realize it, but you are sitting on a wealth of information. You may have 10, hundreds, or thousands of reviews on your Google listings, and you can find out exactly what they say about you. We decided to focus on the price to give you an example. For instance, here we helped Vital Dent, a chain of dentists, to analyze its review. We noticed that when their customer mentioned prices in the comments, well, the perceived value was very positive since the average rating was 4.8 out of 5 stars. And this is a very good indicator on their pricing policy. On the contrary, on the other hand, you can also identify unhappiness and act on it too, thanks to the review and the comments.
Yeah. So now we also get ready some processes to follow for you to put in action. And now that you're familiar with the evolution and the impact of online reviews we just shared, here are the three things you need to know and you need to do, even starting today after this webinar, to benefit from your e-reputation and actually make it work for you instead of it working against you. The first thing you need to do, respond to your reviews. Really take the time to do that, because customers value this more than anything else. Analyze your reviews. You need to know your customers and what they think about you. What are the keywords, that the words that they use in, and what's the overall feel. And thirdly, ask your customers to leave you feedback. Customers are genuinely interested and willing to leave you a review if they're asked to. Happy customers tend to forget, but if you really take the chance to ask them this opportunity, it will just be one of the best things you could do for your listing. So now you might ask, why respond to reviews, and isn't it even just enough to have a review on my listing? So there's three main reasons. First is it strengthens the client relationship. Google My Business is an essential channel in terms of customer relations. We saw the Moz report just confirmed it this year, especially post-COVID. So if you respond to a review, the internet user who just left it will be notified. That means it will show that you're listening to them and that their opinion, be it good or bad, has been taken into account, and that you're not afraid and you're not afraid to address the problem and respond to it. The second point is the brand image. So an answer, a response can be seen by several thousand times by internet users. There's this review, but there's also your reply that will be advertising for you. So it should be seen as a free advertise on Google by passing on key messages and passing on the main things that you want to share. Lastly, it's the referencing. So responding to a review sends a positive signal to Google, and in other terms, you have to use this to put on any keywords. The words that are contained in your reviews will allow you to appear on the related queries and improve your organic SEO. So you have to dig. It's a gold mine, and it's really important to put on the keywords, but also at the same time be careful, because you don't want to overdo it. The main goal is to have the genuine customer relationship, and not only SEO.
Yeah, it is actually very important to not overdo it, because otherwise your response will seem like a robot. Yeah. So you want to still feel human. So how to respond to reviews now? This is we recommend really to our client to respond to all negative and positive reviews. But of course, it will depend on the resources that you have internally. But the more you reply, the more you bring value to your customer and please the Google algorithm. So best practices would be to reply within a maximum of 1 week, and once again, the more responsive, the better. So with the ideal being to respond within 24 hours, especially when a negative review would be involved. Now, concerning the answers adapted to each type of review, in the case of a negative review, the aim would be to create direct contact with the customer, to understand the reason for his unhappiness and to apologize if it's necessary. It is also an opportunity to show the customer how to contact you, the establishment, the company directly, to be able to discuss the matter in person. We have noticed that after a good response, some internet user will delete their review or transform the original one into a positive review. So it is very important. And in the case of a positive review, well, it is a reply that will increase the loyalty, simply the loyalty with your customer. If you reply to them, you show them that you care, and they will come back. Now, in terms of organization, it's a tricky subject because it depends really on the resources that you can get internally. There is not really a right answer, but each type of response has its own advantage. There would be two types of response. The first one would be a response from the central marketing from your team, or the second one would be the local response, so in stores, in the branches, directly with local manager. So in the first case, with central responses, there are some advantages. First one would be professionalism, because you have empathy. Empathy, spelling, and politeness are key elements in responding to an online review. And it can be really difficult to enforce a strict policy with store manager to do this. Then would be responsiveness, which is essential in this area. Store manager have optional issues that can not optional but operational issues that can sometimes override the management of their reviews. Something that will not happen if this is managed and processed by you as a marketing team manager or communication, experience, customer experience, etc. And the last one would be that there are many SEO implications, as just Kenza told us before, related to the review and the responses. So providing a response with the good keywords in the comments will allow you to appear in other queries related to these keywords. So this is very important, and the store manager and local, they might not think about that and just say maybe sometimes, hello, thank you for your answer. We wish to see you to come back soon. But you can put more long answers with the right keywords. And on the other hand, the advantage of the local response would be that they are the ones in the field. They are the ones who meet with the customer, and therefore they are the most likely to have the best response to a comment, positive or negative, following a shopping experience. And they are the best one to be able to say what happened in the store and have the right answer. So this is also a good way of making the store feel more responsible and more concerned by making them aware of their customer feedback. And in the end, it's also for you at the headquarters a way to lighten the workload that you might have.
Mm. Yeah, and it's also important to follow these steps and to define rules, answer to your replies with rules. And whether you choose to manage your reviews centrally or locally depends on the brand and on the strategy. You will need to define what we call editorial guidelines. So it just helps the brands to ensure that the message your company sends out is consistent. And it's like image, like branding with the image is also branding with what you say, and you'll need to define rules for the following points. The timelines, the response time, like how long does it take for you to respond to a negative or positive review. The type of reviews, also to which reviews to respond first, you give priority to what. Also the personalization, the degree of personalization. Is it based on a template, or is it 100% customizable and written on the spot? There's also the lexical field to take into account. What terms are used, which keywords should be used, which ones do you want to put on every single review, and so on. And lastly, the editorial line. What are the values, the state of mind? Do you address your clients with the first name basis? Do you, for example, in French, there's the difference between addressing someone with the vous and tu, and there's also so many things to take into account. To use humor and so on. So these are just steps you need to do first when you just start, guidelines. So whether you do it from local or from the headquarters, you'll be able to be sure that everyone will be using the same thing. So now, once you have your reviews, once you manage them, there's an important step you need to do is to analyze them. And your Google My Business listing and your reviews are a massive, invaluable source of customer feedback. It's not just a question of responding to them, but also analyzing them in order to have relevant lessons, actionable steps to take. And there's also there's so many ways that this analysis can be done. Actually, it can be done by assessing. First, you need to assess your situation to date. You need to know what's your average rating and volume, what are the number of reviews you have by listing and overall. You also need to know the customer profiling. Are they mostly unhappy? They're neutral. They're happy. The quality of your internal management, the response rate, and also the themes and associated ratings like semantic analysis, which reviews is associated with which team, and so on. These are the 4 points that really you need to focus on, and that will enable you to make an assessment of your situation and take concrete steps to work on the main points of friction that will emerge. And you'll also be able to see what are the listings and locations for your brand that are performing better than the other, and to know why. So let's dive into a even more interesting chapter, which is how to request more reviews for your brand. After having explained all of this now, the importance of reviews, the management, the analysis, I would like to highlight this last point. And because it is possible to request more reviews while still being compliant with Google. So before requesting more positive reviews, I'll let you explain to us why it is important to do so.
Yes, Kenza. So basically, reviews have gradually become the primary criteria for choosing an establishment in the internet. Everyone trusts reviews now. I'm sure you guys here present, you use it all the time in Google Maps, either to choose a restaurant or other things. It's part of our everyday life. So you know that 91% of people like you, they read the online reviews before going to any establishment. Also, of those who say that they look at the reviews, it's 56% that says that they never go to an establishment with an average of a rating of less than 4 out of star review. So this is very important to have a good review, more than 4 of 5. And around 15% of a listing, of your Google My Business listing, will depend on its e-reputation, so that you can rank it well. It will be about the number of reviews, the average score, the frequency, and response rate. So the most interesting aspect of this statistic is not the 15% per se, but the fact that the previous year we were only at around 8%. So reviews are more and more important, both for the customer and both for and also for Google algorithm. So don't hesitate to ask your satisfied customer to post a review on Google. The tricky question would be how to correctly ask them to post an online review. You can, of course, do it while asking to them by speaking to them, but there is a good chance that the customer will have forgotten as soon as they leave the store. So you can also send mass invitation by email, for instance, but the opening rate is extremely low. It's about 14%, and the opening time is likely to be very long. The customer won't remember the experience, and also keep in mind that mass invitation by emails are against the guidelines of Google. This is called review gating. The solution that we think is the more reliable and sustainable in the long run would be to send your customer invitation as soon as they leave the store, the best channel being SMS, text messages. Because the associated opening rate is much higher than emails. It's about 94%, and the success rate is also higher, 40% SMS conversion rate if the customer is notified right on the spot. So now I just would like to throw some lights on the review gating concept, which is very, very important. The review gating are bad practices that are against Google guidelines. So this is to say practices that will aim to distort the Google algorithm by any various means. According to this concept created by Google, it's not allowed to first send mass invitation to encourage the submission of reviews, and second, it's not encouraged to, and it's even forbidden to filter negative comments to redirect only satisfied customer to Google. For instance, if you use NPS study, then you just take the one that say, yeah, I'm satisfied, and then you say, okay, please share your experience on Google, then this is not the right way. It's not a good process, and if Google detects this type of fraud, then your listing might be suspended. And a listing that would be suspended means no visibility on Google Maps, no visibility on Google, just you are invisible until your listing is again validated. So please don't do that. It's too risky. So now in order for an SMS request to work, it's important to respect two criteria, the communication and the timing. The first, indeed, the customer must absolutely have given his agreement to receive an SMS. It seems like a no-brainer, but otherwise it will be seen as too intrusive. And this is also mandatory in the context of the compliance with the GDPR policy. The timing is also key. So the sooner the SMS is sent, the better it is for the experience after the client was in the establishment. And ideally, it would be best to even send the SMS while you are still talking to the customer in store. So you can say, "Hey, please leave your share your experience on Google with us. I will send to you a text messages, and then you can just click on the link and have the store right there, and then it will be very more interactive."
Yep. Uh, yeah, these are a lot of actionable and a lot of information, but all of it, it's actually working. It actually works for our clients, and it's easy, but it's efficient. So, well, all of that being said, now we have come to the end of this e-reputation webinar. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your attention. We hope you learned new things about the importance of a strong review management strategy, why and how to respond and analyze them, and most importantly, how to collect more of them. So don't worry, we'll send you the recording of everything we said so you can apply it later on. And just for people who don't know us yet, at Partoo, what we do is we help brands with physical stores and point of sales to improve their online presence, and with a huge focus on Google My Business. So we have three solutions with which we organically boost our brand's local organic SEO. And the three products are mainly the presence management, which helps the brand to update their business related information, such as opening hours, phone number, COVID related information, and so on. And they do that from one single platform of Partoo. So that information gets synchronized on dozens of high domain authority websites, including Google, Facebook, Apple, TripAdvisor, and so on. So that's the presence. The second product is review management, and it allows the stores and the store managers to gather all the reviews they have from Google, TripAdvisor, and Facebook, and respond to them quickly from one single Partoo interface. And the third one would be the review booster, which actually helps the customers and the clients to collect more reviews by and improve their star rating by sending a text message. So it's very simple. Three products, they're complementary, and they're very efficient. So that's in a nutshell what we do at Partoo. And now I do think we do have time ahead to answer all
Yeah,
the questions if you have any, and you can use the chat system. And also, we're gonna read them right away. But
I
please
think
feel
we
free.
already got some, yeah, Kenza.
Yeah, yeah. I Perfect.